So I'm sitting outside for a little while and wanted to chat with you guys. I know I made a video about homeschooling ages 0 to 5 not too long ago. I covered a lot in that video, and I've been thinking about what I want to share in this video. I really do think there'll be a lot of repetition, but some added things as well. I want to welcome you to my channel if you're new here, and if you would like and subscribe, I would so appreciate that. My channel is all about marriage and homemaking, homeschooling, healthy living. I share my interests with you guys, which change from time to time, and just keep you posted on any updates here in our home and family. I think that years 6 to 9, I feel tempted to go higher than that, maybe 6 to 10, are definitely what they call the wonder years, the elementary years, where children are just in awe and wonder of their surroundings, particularly nature. And I think nature is a huge importance in those years. I think it continues to be, but in those years it is really important because it really does deepen their interest, and it trains their eye to see things and be on the lookout for things for the rest of their life. They won't be as innocent and excited about those things as they get older. It will become a more mature excitement. And that's why I think they call it the wonder years, because they're so innocent and sweet and just mesmerized and amazed by everything. My boys are still pretty amazed by nature, but they express it differently now as young men than they did when they were 7, 8, and 9, you know? So definitely highly encourage nature stuff. We've done all sorts of nature things, lots of nature walks, lots of scavenger hunts, lots of nature documentaries and videos. We've visited many state parks and gone on nature walks there. We've always been into birds. We've always acquainted ourselves with the trees and anything on our neighborhood or on our property. We like to know what we have. And now with technology, which I don't like technology for school, but I do utilize a couple of apps, planets being one of them, when we look at the stars at night, just to know what is where. And I really like the app Seek, and there's plenty of other nature apps. That one's great. It's the only one I've tried, and it works well. It identifies what you're looking at, tells you the name, and it could be anything from animals to flowers. It's really, really cool. We've also captured many caterpillars through the years and watched them become chrysalises and cocoons and emerged moths or butterflies. We've caught tadpoles and fed them and watched them metamorphosize into frogs. We've had a snail habitat where you just get like a container and keep it a little damp with sticks and leaves, and you put all the snails in there and they reproduce, and it is amazing. We've captured praying mantises and fed them flies and watched them eat. It's really, really cool. And then of course we have our pets that we take care of, which even domestic dogs and guinea pigs and cats are amazing creatures. We've also taken the opportunity with our neighbors to go over there and visit the baby kids when they were born. We actually got to see a mama goat birth 2 kids. Our friend's dog gave birth to 8 or 9 puppies last year, and we got to watch that. So there's so many opportunities, and it doesn't just have to be at home. You can go and explore, and you can go and visit places where you can experience those things with your kids. We've also done nature study journals where we've gone out and collected things and then sketched them, or printed out a coloring sheet and colored them and then wrote some of the data or information about those things, or watched videos about those things to deepen our knowledge on our findings. So that's always fun. I also think these years are great for character building, and I think, you know, you've got to sit and think, what are the character qualities I really want in my children, and start teaching. I think Proverbs is the best place to start. It pretty much is all done for you. All you got to do is read and chat, and it is so incredible to see how it sticks through the years. Not just behaving those ways, but thinking those ways and remembering those ways. And I just encourage you to be consistent. Don't think, oh, we've already done this keep doing it. Keep doing it. We've been reading a few Proverbs from a chapter of Proverbs every year since they were 6. Every day, I'm sorry, every day. So like today's the 26th. We read 4 or 5 from chapter 26. Tomorrow we'll read 4 or 5 from chapter 27. My phone died, so my camera died. So the other thing I would encourage focus on in these next few years is definitely character building. And there's no one right answer, you guys. Like, I'm just telling you what we did. I'm not telling you this is the formula, this is what you have to do. Take what you like, leave what you don't like. Take what would work for your family, leave what won't work for your family. And if it works for a little while and then stops working, change things up. This is your life. I'm not telling you anything except what I know, and I only know what I know, and I only know what I've done and how I've done it and how it's gone for us. And there's many ways. There is not just one way for homeschooling, so, or for parenting for that matter. So please just take the good and leave the unhelpful. But for us, integrity is a huge thing to me. And I've always defined integrity as doing the right thing even when no one's watching. And honesty, of course, loyalty, being a hard worker, being forgiving, confessing when you've done something wrong and asking for forgiveness. Of course, humility, but that's all throughout the Proverbs. Not being excessive is something else that we've talked a lot about, to not be gluttonous and excessive, and to be satisfied with little, to be content, to work hard, to save money, to plan, to not procrastinate, all those things. And I'm sure there's more we can add to that list. Being honorable, being respectful, being obedient, submitting to authority. We've always talked about how authority, God is the supreme authority. And so he establishes life in the way that a child is born into a family where they are under the authority of their parents, and their parents are to teach them to submit to them. Well, God commands them to submit to their parents, to obey and respect their parents and honor their parents. And then the parents teach them to walk in the ways of the Lord, which is the ultimate submission. So even when a child grows up and leaves home, they still have the ultimate authority over them. And if they haven't learned submission, then it could affect them for the rest of their life. And that's just talking about God. Obvious other authorities as well could be an issue with crime and the law and things like that. So there's so much there, and I'm sure you can think of tons on your own. I don't need to tell you it all, but those are just a few of the things that we have talked about. We talk about gratitude a lot, contentment a lot, living with minimal, of course, healthy living. That's really important to me. And cooking from scratch and taking care of the body God's given you is very important to me. Fitness, they see displayed, so they're into it just because they're watching us do it, so they do it. I haven't necessarily made them work out, but they do push-ups all the time, and I think it's because they see us doing push-ups and us working out, so they just want to follow their parents in that. But the message I always communicate is we eat the way we eat, and we exercise the way we exercise, because we're taking care of the one bodies that God's given us, and we want to be available to whatever service he calls us to. So there's that. Another is I would say to not fall into the pressures. This is the years where I feel like parents start to feel guilty if they're not involving their children in a bunch of stuff. It's okay. It's really okay. Trust me. Your kids don't have to be involved in a million things. They just don't. They will be satisfied with what you give them as long as you are. If you are always thinking, we need to, and you're comparing your life to other people's, and you feel left out because this person's doing that and you're not, then your kids are going to be shaped to think that way. One of my goals was to have my children love being home, and to be content being home and happy being home and making their life at home wonderful, so that they would want to be here. So that was one of my goals. Of course, we do stuff, but mostly with friends at their houses or at our houses. I don't really like doing things like the trampoline place. We've done it, but never just us four. Like, we always do that with friends in some sort of arranged thing, like a party or something. We've gone to the trampoline place with friends, but like for birthdays and stuff. But people go just to go. Like, I don't do anything like that. I don't really eat out much with the kids. I have before, just for a special treat, which makes it very special since it's not the norm. We eat out as a family once in a while. Like, and these days, everything's so expensive. We've cut back on that. Like, we haven't eaten out in like 2 weeks. So we probably aren't going to for a little bit because it's just wild how expensive everything is. So I don't know, just, I know that it's a long road and there's only so much second guessing you could do before you might give in. But man, when I tell you that if you teach your kids to love being home, they'll love being home. And when you teach your kids to be satisfied, especially those little years, I mean, just think back 100 years, the kids did not need all the stuff that they have today. They were fine. They were totally fine. So I don't know. I am not big on getting involved in a million things. I think it just creates a busy, hectic, stressful, rushed, hurried life that isn't that enjoyable. I definitely prefer saying no to most things, being extremely selective on what we choose to do, and really, really being mentally and physically present for my children so that I can truly interact with them and develop deep, long, life-lasting relationships. I want them to know that they can talk to me about anything. Relationships is one of the best things that come out of homeschooling. If you are truly intentional, you can get to know your children deeper than you can possibly imagine, and they can get to know you deeply. It's beautiful. I told my mom a few years ago that I didn't really know her that well until she moved in with us 11 or 12 years ago. And that's because I was with her, but like not really, you know, I was with her on the weekends and at nights. And when I was with her on the weekends, it was like with family and cousins, and I was off playing. And when I was with her at night, it was doing homework, taking showers, eating dinner, going to bed. So I knew her, but not really. And I've gotten to know her more these last 12 years than ever before. But my kids, they know me. Like, it fascinates me how well they know me. I think it is precious. And I think it's because all the time we spend together. I saw this, just one of those like graphic, you know, pictures. It said, average homeschool mom or working mom spends an average of 13 hours a week with her kids. Homeschool mom spends an average of 77 hours a week with her kids. And so when I showed my kids that, they did the math and they were like, Mom, you spend over 85 hours with us a week. Because I was like, you can only count the day hours, not the night hours when we're sleeping. It's supposed to be daytime. And they're like, okay, so we wake up like at 9 and we go to bed like at 10. So that's like 13 hours a day. And they did all the math and they were like amazed. And I'm like, so do you think that mama's probably the main person shaping your brain? And they're like, yeah. And you know, I want them to know that. I want them to see, like, I have sacrificed happily, willingly, joyfully, would do it over and over again, sacrificed my entire life to be the primary everything to my children. And I'm happy to do it because I know that our children are being taught how to think, how to talk, how to be every day, all day, wherever they are, if they're with us or somewhere else. And it's just fact, you know, you are influenced by your surroundings. You are shaped by your surroundings, and whoever has you most is the one shaping you. So I want to be that person. Let's see. I don't want to, I did not and will not, even now, still, my kids are 11 and 13, almost 12 and 13. Picture books are still beautiful and wonderful to me. I love sitting down and just huddling up together on the sofa and reading picture books. So I wouldn't give that up. I also would not give up poetry. I would just maybe go up a little in the level, you know, just advance a little. Classical music exposure, beautiful art, classical art exposure at this point as well, and continue on. And I would also encourage starting to read chapter books, not just to them, but yes to them. Like, don't stop reading out loud, and teaching them to read on their own as well. And, you know, there's ways around. If you don't have a reader, someone that loves to read, it doesn't have to happen in this age bracket. On Ivan's 12th birthday, someone gave him a book, and it was the first book that he read by himself. He just waited that long. Up until then, I read to them every day for years. And every homeschool mom that's ahead of me that has boys told me, just watch, around 12, they'll take off reading on their own. And I waited patiently because I was like, I hang on to the stuff people tell me. I don't panic in the midst of it. I'm like, okay, this is happening, but so-and-so told me this, and so-and-so told me that. And so let me just wait, watch, and see what happens, you know? So they were right. All right, right at 12, Ivan got a book and started reading it. And ever since then, he reads and reads and reads and reads. And it's wonderful because it really did organically, just naturally happen. Joel, on the other hand, is not a reader. He will read if I ask him to for school. He will sit through any audiobook and let me read aloud to him all day. He loves Adventures in Odyssey, but to sit down and read a chapter book is just not what he's into. And as much as I would love him to be reading, first of all, he's only 11, so it may happen. Second of all, I have never been a reader. I have read more now as a homeschool mom than I've ever read my whole life. And even now, on my spare time, I don't read. I do stuff. I listen to stuff. So he could just be more like me in that way. And that's okay. I can relate to that, and so I can sympathize with that. I'm not going to force it. That's another thing. Know your children so that you don't force and try to force things. You really, really want to have a peaceful homeschool environment as much as it is in your power. You will have hard days. You will cry. They will cry. You will lose it. You will apologize. They will watch you make mistakes and apologize, confess, but be ready to give things up that you thought were going to work beautifully, but just aren't because you're trying to force them, and be willing to change your ideal, beautiful, perfect picture if it is causing war in the home. It's not worth it. And I didn't talk much about husbands in the first video because I really do feel like when husbands are away for the day, we're the managers of the home. We really do just call the shots and make things go the way we want them to go, which is a beautiful freedom. But when they come home, if they don't have the same, at least homeschool vision that we do, it could feel like they're sabotaging all your work. If they like come in and, you know, put rock music on instead of the classical music you've been so faithfully and consistently been exposing your kids to. So I understand those moments, and as much as it's hard for me, I'm preaching the choir here, okay? Embrace what he brings to the table. Embrace it, because you are mama. Oh man, I'm preaching to the choir here. You're mother, he is father. You both bring something different to the table, not just relationally, but also education-wise. And he has got something to offer, and you want to accept anything he has to offer and rejoice with it, because it's still shaping your child. Obviously, if it's a good thing. So if it's a bad thing, it's shaping your child too, but we're hoping, I'm talking about good things, okay? So like if Hector wants to show them guitar stuff, but not the music that I wish they were learning, then it's okay. At least they're learning guitar, you know? And the funny thing is my kids are like, can we play a Christian song, please? Which the songs he chooses are not worldly bad songs or anything. They're just like neutral, but my kids don't like it. They're like, we want to play a Christian song. So it's funny, and I love it. And, you know, like, just, I don't know, there's preferences. There's things that are right, things that are wrong, and things that are not wrong, we just don't prefer. So that is always that gray area, that it isn't wrong. It's just not what I prefer, because I'm trying to do something big here, something in the grand scheme to look and be a certain way, and these little interferences could take us off track. Well, it's not worth your marriage. So be discerning in that area too. And I've had my moments where I've had to say, okay, we're just not going to be that family that daddy comes home at night and says, so what'd you do for school today? What did you not finish? Mama, do you want to sit around the fire and finish your history reading? I'll join you. Let's make tea. It's just not going to happen. Although that is what I pictured. It's just not going to happen. So I've given up on that vision. Has it ever happened? Yes, maybe because I've made it happen and it's been beautiful and wonderful, but not consistently, which is what I would like, but it's just not reality. So I had to give it up. And that may happen with you in another way. So you'll be discerning in those areas for your own homeschool life. And I encourage you to know you're not alone, and it happens and it's normal. And you just gotta, don't fight the battles that are not worth fighting. And fight the battles that are worth fighting. Not with your husband, just in general with your children. When it feels like you're the only one that doesn't have some sort of commitment, it's okay. We have not done sports. We've done football 1 season. We did baseball 2 seasons, not in a row, spread out. And I'm so glad we're not in sports. I just feel like there's just so many things that are not positives. There are positives. I'm not going to say everything's negative, but the negatives outweigh the positives for us. And so I'm very thankful that that's just not the life we went for, I'm trying to see if there was one more thing I was going to mention. Chapter books, poetry, classical art and music, character building, nature, the wonder years, and crafts for sure. Lots of crafts on that age. And of course, play days. We did a lot of play days. More than any commitment things, we did play dates. And play dates don't have to be a full day. It could be like once or twice a week. My magic number was 2. I never left home more than 2 days a week. I always left home after lunch because I loved our morning time, which is when we read the scriptures, did school, tidied our bedrooms, had breakfast, had lunch, and then left for our outing. And if it wasn't errands, it was playtime with friends, and it was wonderful. And then of course, evenings. As a homeschool Christian family that isn't involved in anything, we try to see friends as often as possible, which is again changing with the years. Now it's probably like 3 to 4 times a week with my kids being older, but when they were little, twice was enough. It really is. So nothing else comes to mind right now. I hope that this was helpful and encouraging and inspiring to you. And I didn't talk much about discipline in this video, but I do think that at this point, spanking starts to dissipate, if not be gone altogether. But there's still occasional spanks. I feel like the last time we spanked Joel, maybe he was 7, 8, and Ivan was like 6 or 7. And they were just different temperaments. Ivan decided to be an obedient child early on, and he did. And praise God, we were able to stop spanking him early. Joel was a little more difficult, but he didn't last much longer. And after that, it was mostly just conversations, redirecting, and they've been pretty compliant. I'm thankful. So I think just instilling good disciplines, good habits, good continual training and discipleship, and this is lifelong, but I do think it starts, the wisdom and the character building conversations will be so impactful in their life in the long run. So just don't grow weary of doing good, because you will see the fruit of it. You've watched the sunset with me. I am gonna lock up my chickens. I hope you are blessed and encouraged and inspired, and I will see you guys on the next and last video with the age bracket 11 to 13, because that's as far as I've gone, and I'm not going to pretend to know what awaits me after 13. God bless you guys, and see you next time.